Hi, I'm Johnny Armandri of soundtrack.academy, and in this video I'm going to take you through how to create an epic composition as if writing to brief, kind of in the style of Hans Zimmer, that really big epic sound. The piece we're looking at is actually something I wrote for an MMA fighter as their entrance theme music. Instead of going for that hip hop or rap sound, we used this epic, angry orchestral sound. I'm going to take you through each instrumental group, the strings, brass, percussion, and choir that were used on this piece, and show you how it all comes together to create that epic sound. If film and media music composition is something that you're really interested in, head over to soundtrack.academy/ebook and download a free copy of my book, The Media Scoring Guide, which is a 40-page, 10,000-word book taking you through all of the essential skills you'll need, the basic equipment, and also the standard process of working on a film. Okay, let's get on with the tutorial.
So this was a brief that I was given for an MMA entrance theme, which was pretty unique and new to me. Essentially, we start with a 30-second intro, 1 minute of walking, 30 seconds of pre-ring check where they put Vaseline on the eyebrows and make sure that they're happy to go in the ring, and then a final 15-second big moment where the fighter was in the cage, intimidating his opponent, I guess. So that's it. 30 seconds intro, 1 minute walking, 30 seconds pre-ring, and then 15 seconds of terror. In terms of style, we had a bit of a negotiation really, because a lot of the MMA music that you hear for entrance tends to either be heavy metal or rap, but I felt like doing something a bit more interesting. So I spoke with the fighter and we decided on an orchestral thing, a real kind of something really meaty, drawing a bit of inspiration from the Undertaker kind of theme, sort of church bells and real terror. So I'm going to play the track through to you and I'll explain where the key hit points are so we know what's going on. So this is the intro with the undulating bass, general sound. So this is before the fighter comes out. 30 seconds to get warmed up. The strings slowly building. Coming up to our 30-second mark now, so we have a big build. And that's where our fighter first emerges and starts his walk to the ringside. So we have about a minute of walking, so a bit of melodic information here, just to keep the pace going. A bit more of a build, a bit more information as we're getting closer to the ringside. Depending on the size of the venue, the fighter might be by the side of the ring by now, but the brief said to have it happen around about now, so the 1.5-minute mark. Bit softer while he's having all of his checks done. So we allowed 30 seconds for all the checks, and then it was timed at this point he would enter the ring. And we have the final 15 seconds of pretty intense, supposedly terrifying music. And leaving it unresolved at the end. So I said the ending's unresolved. Now what that means is that it doesn't feel like it's finished. All music generally feels like it should resolve back to the tonic or the first chord. And as you can hear at the end of this piece, that string line, bum, 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 we were expecting it to finish bum, to hit that final note, but it doesn't. We leave that off. It's quite characteristic of quite a lot of film music because generally it doesn't happen at the beginning or end of a film. It's in the middle of a film. So why would you end the loop and finish and close the loop? And on this example, this is the introduction to a fight. So the fight's not over when the music's over. We're about to go into the main event. So the music leaves that unresolved to leave us leading into the main event. I'm going to go through a little bit of the compositional detail of the piece now, starting with this bass noise that we hear right at the very beginning. So this is just created in a synth, but it's fairly simple to create, sort of big bass sound with a cut-off filter, turn quite down to start with, quite low. You'll hear that as we build to the climax points, 30 seconds in. You can start to hear some of the top end coming through. Combined with a few effects, so there's a delay on there and also a tremolo. I'll take you through the process of the bouncing of all the separate parts again, but essentially this is sort of my sketch and also my final string section. So the brass aren't final here. This is the string part that I'm writing. So we've got our pulsating bass underneath and then these string parts. This is just very simple development. So we've got that one pattern, and every loop around, another pattern based on the same chord sequence is introduced. And here we have those contrabass that start, those big string sounds at the bottom in octaves on both the cellos and the contrabass to give that really big, meaty sound. Now, this is where that imagination thing comes into play again, because you'll hear that and it's quite underwhelming, really, if I'm honest. That's not the sound I wanted, that huge, big sound. But you've got to remember in your head, this is going to have brass added to it, percussion added to it, the choir added to it. So I don't need this to be monumentally big at this stage because it will get there as we start adding instruments. So to carry on through the piece, we have the big bass sound, that same pattern, a little bit louder on the strings now, generally played fortissimo or very loud. And then we have this melody. This thing, I knew that at this stage, we're 45 seconds in, so I knew that this is the part where our fighter is walking towards the ring. So I had to make sure I had some melody just to keep interest, because if not, it's just going to have that undulating bass is going to take over everything and it's going to get really monotonous. So we have this melody that starts. Now you see my strings are in octaves. This adds some weight to the strings, can help them feel a little more authentic as well. When MIDI strings are played in isolation, they can sound really weak. And we build up. Now there's various different ways you can come up with melodies. A really easy way, and it's really corny, but think of words that can go with them. So I'll be totally honest, the fighter for this is called David. And in my head, the lyrics that went with this melody is simply, David will win this fight. I know that's really, really corny, but it just helped me think of what I'm going to put in so we can listen. David will win. Really, really simple, really stupid, but it helps me think of rhythm and motif in the melody. And again, we have the build. You can hear the other instruments' dynamics coming in up to that build. And then a lot of this is copy and pasting the string part. You can see just how it loops, bringing back that big chord from earlier on as it loops around. And then some octaves are brought in. Adding octaves is a really simple way to make the piece sound like it's developed without actually doing very much. And here it's doubled. Again, in thirds this time. Another way to add a development, make it feel like it's getting bigger, make it feel like it's getting more grandiose before the next development. So you'll recognize the melody from earlier on, but it's a lot fuller. Just to show you the difference side by side. So here we've just still got the short staccato string parts at the bottom with our melodic melody over the top. This time around, the melody is harmonized. We still have those staccato things in the background, but we've got cellos playing long notes in the bottom as well, and the bass parts playing the roots. So that's the bottom note of the chord. So the final section, more repeats from earlier on. We've got the octave part in thirds, because that's our biggest section. If you look up at these blocks, we've got smallest section, bigger section, and then biggest section where everything's in thirds. So that's just a repeat of that biggest section. And that's how it ends. So that's it for the string section. Next up, I'm going to have a look through the brass.
Thanks for watching so far. Please don't forget to like this video and subscribe to the channel for more film and media music tips. This video is actually part of a larger course that I put together based purely around film music composition and production. We look at this epic piece of music in a bit more detail, as well as a short film that I've worked on previously, and we actually create a project together from scratch using a short clip of moving image, and you can see the whole process unfold as we actually create a new piece of music. To get access for just $10, there's a link in the description that you can follow. The full price of the course is usually $120. Okay, let's get back into the tutorial.
When I go to move to my brass, rather than rekeying in all the information, because the brass is doubling a lot of the string stuff, I've just changed the instrument to brass instruments instead. And not all of these tracks are live, so you'll notice at the beginning, if I mute that, there's nothing happening on this because this isn't assigned to any instrument. It's more there for my reference. And I've imported the audio that I bounced from the string session down as an audio file at the bottom so that I can reference my string section here. Also missing is the melody in the string section. So here, if you remember, if you've got a good memory from the first one, we have a little melody here with the really cheesy lyrics of David will win the fight. So we have ba, 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 ba. I've taken that out because I wanted to spend some more time with that melody to make sure those string sounds were better. It's really important when you have melodic ideas that you actually spend some time making sure that the samples are really, really good, because if not, they can really make it obvious that you're not working with real instruments. So as I said, a lot of the brass stuff is doubled on the strings. So you'll hear on the strings original parts, those big cellos and contrabass are simply doubled on the brass here. So, and that's a real trick to orchestration, is just learning which instruments work well together. To hear them together. Really nice full sound. So there's not that much new in the brass parts. That's just copied the whole way through. The only new thing is this counter melody brought in on the French horn. So as I mentioned, you'll have the main melody in the strings. Now, counter melody is a melody that runs alongside your main melody. So you have your main melody played in the strings. Again, it's not on this recording, but if you can put up with my wonderful voice, I can sing it over the top. So you've got ba, 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 ba. That's the main melody. Ba, 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 ba. Ba, 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 ba. So you can see how that counter melody works alongside it. It's not playing the same rhythm as the main melody. It's playing a different rhythm, and it's not fighting with the main melody. It's not too distracting. It's just there to accompany and add a bit of weight to the melody. And this section is just doubling the low contrabass and cello parts. So next up, we're going to look at the choir section. There's not much particularly new in the choirs. They're primarily to double the instruments. Whenever you start using voice in music, it adds a human element, a spiritual element, almost biblical element to it. So you have to use voice with care, but also it's one of the most obvious MIDI instruments or fake sounding instruments. If I solo one of these choir parts, straight away, it's fairly obvious that isn't a real person singing. Well, it's a recording of an individual note of a real person singing, but it's fairly obvious they haven't sang this passage. And that's why I've chosen for it to double parts rather than be a solo part. You can hide the fakeness of it a little bit by doubling it with other instruments. So again, if I unmute the brass and strings and have the choir there, because it's doubled with the strings, you can hear that it's It's there, but it's not really obvious, so you can't tell that it's a fake instrument. And again, the rest of the choir is simply doubling of existing parts. So these are male voices, sorry, 2 male voices and 2 female voices. So 2 male and 1 female at this point. Just add some weight. Okay, next up we're going to look at the percussion. So getting a good epic sounding percussion section is a lot about layering and finding out what you have at your disposal. So if we play from the beginning, I'll talk you through what we're hearing. So that's a gong right at the beginning. And then here's the waterphone noises. Held notes. They're just pre-recorded samples. There's then some silence. You can hear some of the waterphone noises coming off. And as we move forward a little bit, you can see down here, this long note. This is one of those building drums. So it takes a long time, building cymbals, sorry. It takes a long time to build and then comes to a climax. And then you can hear the bass drum starting, not in that one. In this one, so this is a double hit bass drum and then the actual big boom. So we're getting a little roll before the big boom and the gongs are started again. And here we have these rototoms playing as well. That's where they start. And these are the big drums. It's all just layering. So you can see these are on once a bar. Our rototoms are semiquavers. And again, looking at dynamics of how they're playing, bit of syncopation. Bum 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 bum. And these are the taiko drums. Again, just another little pattern. Bum 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 bum. Once you layer all those together, you have a nice little pattern going. Now you can hear those tiny pulley sticks right at the top, doing that really fast. You can hear it. Pan slightly right. You hear those really, really fast pulley sticks right at the top. Other new things here are these massive layered drums, all playing the same rhythm, but just to make them big and booming.
Thanks again for watching. Don't forget you can get access to my full course, the Film Music Composition Production in Logic Pro X, following the link in the description for just $10 instead of the normal $120 price tag. As always, please like the video and subscribe to the channel. And remember to get your free copy of my ebook, The Media Scoring Guide, by visiting soundtrack.academy/ebook. Thanks again, and I'll see you in the next one.